the 11th chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board. He technically is the acting chairman right now because he was actually appointed by the outgoing President Bush, had not been confirmed at that position, so he carries the title acting chairman, but he's been leading the safety board since August 11th, 2006. Mark Rosenker is a man who's dedicated his life to saving lives, frankly. He's been involved with organizations that have had a real impact on saving lives since his career started. He is a graduate of the University of Maryland. He was involved in the ROTC program there and entered the Air Force at the end of his tenure at Maryland, and spent 37.5 years in active and reserve duty in the United States Air Force. He joined, after his active duty, he joined a public affairs firm where he immediately got involved in that life-saving activity I talked about. One of his clients was the American Safety Belt Council, and needless to say, safety belts have resulted in a lot of lives being saved over the years. He went from there to the Electronics Industries Alliance. He spent a considerable amount of time there, and then joined the United Network for Organ Sharing. Once again, he told me this morning at breakfast that it was a very gratifying position because he could wake up every day and realize that he could contribute to the saving of a life, at least one life every day, with the organ sharing network and the process that it was going through. Mark's career has obviously also been involved in politics, and he was appointed to the position of the head of the White House Military Office and Deputy Assistant to the President on January 1st, 2001, and you'll have to ask him about his experience in that particular role. He had a lot of things that reported to him, not the least of which were the stewards that served the President, the Navy stewards, and they look after his every need. The audio-visual guys in the White House, so if the microphone goes off while he's speaking, he'll probably know how to fix it. And he had a very interesting experience, needless to say, when he was with President Bush on September 11th, 2001. And he could tell you about that too, but that's probably saved for another speech. Suffice it to say that we're very pleased to have Mark here today. He's brought with him a couple of his staff members. I want to welcome them too. Tom Doyle is here with him. And then Ted Lepatkowitz, who is the Director of Public Affairs for the NTSB. I want to welcome both of them and welcome Chairman Rosenker, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Mark.
Well, thank you very much for that very kind and generous introduction. It is great to be in Wichita. I love Wichita. Wichita is a great city. I've been here a number of times, and where's Rick? Rick from Bombardier. There you are, Rick. How many people have heard me speak before? Anybody? Oh, please. I'm sorry that they have to suffer through this again. I have to tell this story because it is one of my favorite stories. I come to Wichita, and I see this fabulous sign as I'm driving from the west side of the city over to the east side of the city, and the sign is posted right up on the highway. It says, Dr. Dennis Levinson, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine and Taxidermy. He's got a great slogan. Either way, you get your dog back. That's marketing, you know, that really is marketing. But it is a pleasure to be back in Wichita, and again, I try to get back about every year, every 18 months to visit the important activities that are going on right here. And I recognize that this is a critical year for this industry. It's tough. It's tough for your state, it's tough for your economy, it's tough for this industry because the fortunes are so closely tied to companies like Cessna, Spirit, Aero Systems, Hawker Beechcraft, and Boeing Integrated Defense Systems, Bombardier Learjet, Airbus North America Engineering, all of whom are facing some very, very challenging times, not only this year, but in the upcoming year. I've been to your plants, and I'm going to get a chance to come back to those plants. This afternoon, I'm going over to Cessna. Tomorrow, I'm going over to Hawker Beechcraft, and I'm going to be visiting the area of the Spirit Systems plant. And I've been there before, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on right now in those particular places. Also Dave talked about the fact that we had Ted Lepatkowitz here with us this morning. He was participating, I guess, more in a roundtable of public affairs professionals, talking about what we do and how we attempt to inform the American people and work with the press and work with our parties and companies when terrible accidents occur around the United States. And it's important to understand our process. And I'm glad that Ted was able to join me today and come out and speak to the public affairs community so that they can learn what we do, how we do it, why we do it, so that, God forbid, if something does come, they know how to work with us very, very closely. And I would also suggest that we have a training center out in Ashburn. And it's an excellent training center. We teach a host of courses out there. And one of our most popular courses is run by our Public Affairs Department, and I would encourage any of your public affairs practitioners, and frankly, you don't have to be a public affairs practitioner, to come out and participate in that course, because you will learn a great deal about the NTSB and its processes, and how we go about investigating accidents and what we say about those accidents during the investigation period. Now let me talk a little about what we do at the NTSB. I got to tell you, this is the best job I have ever had. I had a wonderful breakfast this morning with Molly McMillan. Where's Molly? She's here, isn't she? There you go. We had a great breakfast, and I guess if you talk to her, I think you will probably learn that I have told her that this is the best job I have ever had in my life, and I've had some great jobs, and that I am extremely proud of our organization. I can tell you that if you have the opportunity to ever work with the NTSB, you will be working with some of the most professional, dedicated, committed people, knowledgeable people, skilled people that you will ever come across in the business of transportation safety. These people are amazing to me. And I'm proud to have had the opportunity to serve with them for 6.5 years as their vice chairman, their chairman, and now their acting chairman. Just for the record, we give no grants. We have no money to give to industry. We do no regulatory processes. We don't make regulations. All we have is the ability to investigate accidents, to determine the probable cause, and then make recommendations. We make recommendations to the FAA. We make recommendations to the manufacturers. We make recommendations to the operators. But that's all we do is make recommendations. No regulatory authority at all. It's up to you to listen to us. If you don't want to, don't. We tell everybody about our recommendations. We explain why it's important, why the FAA should do this, why the manufacturers should do this, why the operators should do this. About 82% of what we recommend gets to be a regulation, a manufacturing change, an operating change. And we also talk about the people who didn't listen to our recommendations. You don't want to be part of that crowd. And you're not. This industry is extremely responsive. And that is why it is so safe. And it is such a great industry. And I'm grateful to be what I would call a partner in this industry and this industry's success. I want to talk a little bit today about a few things. One, Dave, he wrote me this very nice letter. And Dave's letter basically invited me to come here. He wanted me to talk and offer my perspective. And as you can see, I'm kind of shy. I'm not good at offering perspective. But in his letter, he, and I quote, wanted me to offer my perspective on the aerospace industry in the state of Kansas. And then follow-up conversations with Dave indicated that not only did he want me to talk about the aerospace industry in the state of Kansas, but he wanted me to talk about safety issues in general aviation and recent NTSB activities as it related to our completed investigations. And then Dave continued on in this conversation. He said, I also want you to deal a little bit in perhaps commercial aviation, since many of the WAC members are involved in commercial aviation. Dave said that a lot of interest in a lot of the investigations that we've done in some of the investigations of large aircraft and related issues such as crew resource management, video recorders, fatigue, and runway safety. He also said that be interested in the Colgan Air accident. That's the one that happened in February. That's in Buffalo. Wanted me to talk about that. He also said, Mark, while you're talking about that, why don't you talk about some personal experiences launching to sites of, say, the Steve Fawcett accident, other accidents that I've been to as a board member. And then this morning, Dave said, God, you got some fabulous stories about Air Force One, because Air Force One came under the management of the White House Military Office, Marine One, Camp David, the mill aids that carried the satchel. I had the undisclosed locations under me. When I came to the White House, I was 6'2" and weighed 220. After 2 years, this is what I look like. It's not pretty, I know. There are questions on how I had the opportunity to, and this is an aside. You don't mind if I do this, do you, Dave? Thank you. I was going to do it anyway, even if you minded. How did I get to the White House? Well, in 2001, when the president won the election, I had helped out a little bit in this campaign, and he said, Mark, what do you want to do? I said, sir, there's only a couple of things I'm interested in doing. One, I'd like to come to the White House and run the White House military office. Or I'd like to be ambassador to Barbados. So the president brought me over to the White House, and I became the first WAMO director for the administration. Spent a couple of years doing that, and it's a tough job. As I said, all of those entities plus the White House Communications Agency, White House Medicine, the White House Food Service, and the contingency plans dealing with continuity. So it's a big job. And you never got a call every morning to say, Mark, I just want to tell you what a great job you're doing over there. Things just wasn't that way. It was a big operation that we were responsible for.